Reading a book like this, like, the main character, he's a little too OP. He's a little too overpowered, just good at everything. I understand the hype. I understand the hype of this book. I got fired up just talking about these books. This watch is pinching me. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I hope you're doing well. It's been forever since I've talked about a load of books in one video. My previous, most recent book videos have been me talking about one singular book. So this is a nice change of pace, because when I first started making book-related videos, I talk about multiple books in one video. And I randomly came up with the idea like yesterday to film this video because it just hit me that we're over halfway through the year. Crazy. Time is flying. So I figured I may as well talk about the books that I've read this year so far. I've read way more than I expected to read by this point. My goal was to only read 10 books this year, 6 novels, 4 audiobooks, and we're already about to reach that quota. So I guess pat on the back for me, I suppose. We're going to be talking about my favorite book this year so far. We're going to be talking about all the books I've read, but we're going to specifically highlight my favorite ones, the ones I'd recommend, things of that nature. I have it split up between books I've read and have already talked about, books I've read and haven't talked about, and books I'm currently reading. So first, we're going to knock out the books I've already talked about. Nothing that I'm going to put in too much detail. I'll just put the links towards those reviews in the description. And we're going to start with The Undead Fox of Deadwood Forest. This was a very cute, wholesome book. I forgot what I rated it, but it had to be between 4.5 to 5 stars just because of the coziness that it gave me and the themes that mixed in with that coziness. It felt like I got everything that a fairy tale is supposed to provide. The book is about Claire. Bear with me. Claire ushers wandering souls to their respective place in the afterlife. Claire's time as an usher is about to come to a close, and they're in the process of getting replaced by Ginger Snipes. So Claire and Ginger Snipes goes on an adventure to try and figure out what in the world's going on. The drawings in this book are so cute. Once again, it is a very cozy read, a very easy read, and the themes of forgiveness and love and change, it resonated with me. I really enjoyed it. Definitely makes me more interested in reading fantasy books. So I definitely want to read more books of this nature. Just a vibe with like some tea or a candle or just some cinnamony coffee in a well-conditioned room with a soft light, but it's also warm. Reading a book like this, like, I'd recommend this book if you want an easy read that is calming, but also adventurous, that also has sweet themes, sweet but also heavy, in a sense, depends on how you look at it. And if you like the cottagecore aesthetic, this book is for you. I love this book. This is definitely one of my favorite books of all time, I will say. This, Song of Solomon, Tuesdays with Morrie, it's up there. Once again, I've already talked about this book, so I'm going to keep it brief. The book is about James, a runaway slave. He meets with Huck, a slave owner's son, and they do what they can to escape. James tries to save his family and retreat north. He meets a lot of people. He comes across a lot of danger. The book touched me in so many ways. I haven't read a book that goes into that era, and it made me feel all the more grateful for reading and for writing, and inspires me to educate myself more. The writing is beautiful. The way that Percival Everett is able to switch back and forth between slave talk and speaking more fluently. The book is tragic. It made me angry. It made me hopeful. It made me feel inspired. There's no wonder it won a Pulitzer Prize because the book is so impactful. Next, The Will of the Many. This is the biggest book that I've read, and it took me months to read because I'm a slow reader. Quick breakdown, not me forgetting the main character's name. Viz, the main character Viz, his home was destroyed. He survives the destruction of his home, and he does what he can just to survive until Orchester takes him in and instructs him to infiltrate this school to gather information about the mysterious passing of his brother. This was an engaging read, definitely a more challenging read because there's so many different factions, political factions, and layers. There's things within Orchester's family going on. There's things going on in the school. There's things going on a grander scale. There's just stuff going on in every angle. And then it gets even more convoluted towards the end, which makes you all the more excited to read the second book. I will admit at first I was like, the main character, he's a little too OP. He's a little too overpowered, just good at everything. When there was learning curves, it was never too difficult to overcome. But to be fair, he is royalty, or was royalty, and he was trained by prestigious instructors. So it's fair for him to be way more skilled in comparison to his peers. What would have been a criticism really isn't a criticism at all. But yeah, this book has everything that a fantasy needs. It builds the world flawlessly. Builds the world, builds the characters. It really pulls you into the world, truly. Next, this is the last in terms of books that I have already talked about. Children of Blood and Bone. This is one of my favorite fantasies, I must say. The book is about Zaylee, her clan, the Magi, which is her race, a race of magic wielding people. They are seen as inferior and they are treated harshly. Zaylee, the main character, her brother Zane, goes on an adventure with Amari. Amari is the daughter of the king that is not like Magi. They go on an adventure to bring magic back. I love a book that has adventure, going from one place to the next, meeting people along the way. And this had that for sure. The book is heavy and it is tragic, but the strength of the characters and how they push forward is inspiring. There's awesome action, awesome character development, good romance, tragic romance. Once again, just like The Will of the Many, this had me completely immersed in the world, especially because I listened to the audiobook on this one, and the narrator does a great job because with the African accent, it really pulls me in to this world that they're in. I don't remember what I rated this, but I will say that this is one of my favorite fantasies, African fantasies specifically. It's on par with The Rage of Dragons, but with how this sequel has been hitting, which I will get to, it might end up rising up above that, I must admit. Now, for books that I have not talked about. Theo of Golden. Quick synopsis. The story is about Theo. He temporarily lives in this town known as Golden, which is in Georgia, which I believe is inspired by Columbus, Georgia. This enigma visits and he sees drawn portraits in the cafe that he enjoys going to. And he feels such profoundness in those drawings, and he feels like those drawings have to be brought back to their owners because they tell a very deep story. So he begins a project of delivering all of those drawings, portraits, to their subjects. It was a refreshing pro-Christian book. I've read my fair share of books that argue against Christianity, which I'm not against because I do value open-mindedness, but it is nice to read a book that sheds light on the goodness of Christianity. Now, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't kind of bored throughout the middle part of this book, but that passage was worth it because it was necessary with everything tying together beautifully in the end in a way that I wasn't expecting. And Theo represents so many traits that I want to reflect in my character: humility, appreciation for art and simplicity, generosity, being curious about people. It was a cozy read for sure. And there's so many beautiful themes that are shown throughout the book. And it's shown within the normalcy of things. It's a very calm, chill book. And I think it was that normalcy that I'm not as used to in reading that had me feeling that sense of boredom, but it was a good sense of boredom. I enjoyed reading this book. This is a very good story from start to finish. Everything ties together beautifully. I would recommend this to anyone, because even if you're not Christian, it's just a matter of just faith in general, whatever it is you believe in. I don't think you necessarily have to be Christian to resonate with this book. I haven't given this a rating. I would rate this 4 out of 5. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I understand the hype. I understand the hype of this book. This is one of the most eloquently written books I've ever read. The way Mary Shelley describes feelings is amazing. Some of the best writing I've ever seen. I was not expecting this book to be as complex and deep as it is. When I think of Frankenstein, I think of, he's alive, and then he just wreaks havoc. But the original text gives so much more depth and complexity to both Frankenstein and Victor. No, the creature and Victor. My fault. And it really captures the theme of harmful ambition and prejudice beautifully, and the innate desire for connection. I'm pretty sure most of us know about the story. It is about Victor Frankenstein. He is a scientist who finds a way to create an undead creature. He becomes obsessed and devotes so much of his time to creating this monster, and he does it successfully. But the creature escapes, fending for itself, yearning for connection, but ultimately being scorned by society. This makes the monster crave vengeance, and he ruins Frankenstein's life. This was a tragic read. I was expecting it to be more scary, but it was really sad. Mary Shelley pulled no punches. This is my first classic that I've read that was released before the 19th century. No, before the 20th century. My first 19th century classic. And this gave a wonderful first impression of that era of literature. Characters were beautifully written. Their dialogue was beautifully written. I really felt for their agonies. The writing was so dramatic, and not in a bad way. I can see why this is a classic. It's 5 stars. It has to be 5 stars. I would say 4.5. I'd say, like, objectively, this is 5 stars. But for my personal taste, I give it a 4.5 because this isn't a book that I would typically go for. I can highly respect this book, but I would not give it 5 stars based on my personal taste. But objectively speaking, this is 5 stars. Next up, we have The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose. I read The Maid like the year before last year, 2024. I'd say with this book, it's good when I don't take it seriously. Once I shifted myself out of the mindset of like, this is peak literature. Once I took myself out of that mindset and just enjoyed the book, I enjoyed the book. It was a good book. I actually really did like it. But once again, there were heavier themes, so keep that in mind. It was nice seeing glimpses of the past and seeing how that ties into the mystery as a whole. And it was nice seeing Molly's character development for sure. Nita Prose does do a good job of building her as a character, as well as the characters around her. And the twist at the end, solid. Was not expecting that. The book was cheesy, but overall it was good. I did enjoy it. So because of that, I give it a 3.5. Next up, for books I am currently reading, the sequel of Children of Blood and Bone, Children of Virtue and Vengeance. Now, I don't have much to say about these books because I'm still reading them, but so far, this is exactly what a sequel needs. We're seeing more characters. We're seeing hit the fan. Like, there's so much action right out the gate, and just seeing how strong the main characters have gotten and how they're overcoming this conflict and I have no idea how the conflict is going to end. This book is not predictable. Like, oh, just talking about it gets me excited. Once again, I don't have that much to say about it because I'm not that deep into it. But once again, this is exactly what a sequel needs. If this sequel lands on its feet, well, it's gonna be The Rage of Dragons in terms of my favorite African fantasy. And The East of Eden. Oh my gosh, I feel excited reading. I love reading. I love reading, but these two books are reminding me of why I love reading, of how much I love reading, because these books are gas. This is one of the first books that I've read that has become a page turner within the first 100 pages. Usually the first 100 pages of a book is uphill for me, but this book is so engaging. So many different stories, so much beautiful writing, so many deep topics, so many thought-provoking conversations. And I haven't even scratched the surface of what's going on. We're just building up the characters. I have no idea what's going to happen, truly, but I am thoroughly enjoying it, I must say. Whew, I got fired up just talking about these books. Woo! Anyways, I think that wraps up everything. I will most likely end up talking about all these books and the end of the year review, if that is made. It's crazy. It feels like the end of the year is just barreling. But anyways, if you made it this far, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, evening, whatever. Peace.